Evening, everybody. This is Washington. This is how the lawmaking is done. It's a long process. Sometimes it takes a while to reach consensus, but we're going to do the right thing here tonight. The American Relief Act of 2024 will provide temporary funding to get us into the first part of next year. We're excited about that because Republicans will have control of the White House and the Senate and the House, and we'll be able to make the key decisions about funding for the 2025 fiscal year. So this will allow us the opportunity to do that. In addition, we're going to take care of Americans who have suffered true devastating emergencies and disasters. We had, of course, a record hurricane season with Helene and Milton that did real damage across as many as 6 states. There's $100 billion to provide much needed relief to those people, those Americans who have really been struggling and still are from those storms. And in addition to that, we have $10 billion of emergency aid to our farmers and ranchers. Many of the small farms in America are on the verge of collapse, primarily because of Bidenomics and inflation, the high cost of inputs and fertilizer and seed and everything that they need to keep those farms going. And they've had 3 lost years in a row, some of it because of drought, a lot of it because of the economics of it, and it doesn't make sense for lenders to provide them funding anymore. And so this is a stopgap measure to save those farms, to save food production in America, to ensure that we have that diversity in the marketplace and our food supply is directly related to national security. So it's a very, very important thing for both parties to do to provide that aid. We also have a clean extension of the Farm Bill, a clean extension of health extenders that are necessary, and a couple of other details. Everything that I just told you was negotiated in a bipartisan fashion. Both parties agreed to these terms, and that's what's on the floor right now. The only change in this legislation is that we are going to push the debt limit to January 30th of 2027. We will push it beyond that, or to that time point, and that will allow us to do the important work of governing in the new Congress. Why does that matter? Because we are committed to cutting hundreds of billions of dollars of wasteful spending out of the federal budget. That's what we're going to do. The DOGE effort with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, the commitments that President Trump made on the campaign trail will come to fruition when we get about that very important work for the American people. The government is too big, it does too many things, and it does very few things well. We're going to cut and limit the size and scope of the government and get it under control for the American people. We have a mandate to do so. President Trump received 77 million votes in the election. House Republicans, 74.7 million votes, the most in history. We know what we are to do. We're determined to do that. And even though this vote would push the debt limit to 2027, it in no way reflects any lack of enthusiasm on our part to get about those serious cuts for the American people. We have to have fiscal responsibility as a core principle of our party. So that's what the House Republicans are committed to, every single one of them. We will get together and do that work, and it begins in early January. I hope that this vote passes tonight. We will send it to the Senate. We will extend funding, and we'll come back, and we will have the America First agenda come in roaring in January for the American people. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What's going on here? It needs to be crystal clear to everybody that the CR, that language, is the same language that the Democrats voted on previously. So if the Democrats choose to not vote for this bill, here's what they're doing. They're voting to destroy the American agriculture industry. They're voting to not help our farmers that had 3 very bad years. They're voting to have people to continue sleeping in tents in North Carolina in the winter. They're voting against the homeless people that are in the state of Florida right now. They're voting to shut down the government. So if this fails, it's solely on the shoulders of the Democrat Party. Is that clear?
Republicans are going to vote against it as well.
Numbers, numbers, numbers. And I tell you what, I look at this like the vote for Kevin McCarthy. If this doesn't pass, we do it again and again and again and again and again and again and again. So every single time Hakeem Jeffries and his people votes against this, the American people see that they're playing politics with hungry children and the most vulnerable amongst us.
Do you plan to do in a similarly McCarthy-esque place in having your speaker replaced?
I don't think so at all. No, he's got strong support in the conference and also with President Trump. We'll be good. Anybody else?
Do you think a shutdown would be a bad thing to happen at this
I
point?
think it's horrible. I think shutting the government down is horrible, and we need to not do it.
Would you be willing to have another compromise bill with Democrats in order to not shut the government down then?
Why would we do that? This is an exceptionally good bill that they already voted for. I mean, you guys have to have a memory longer than a gnat. The Democrat Party already voted for the same amounts of money that are in this than they did with the previous CR. I mean, that's a fact.
Congressman, Republicans who vote no. You're criticizing Democrats, but you're not criticizing Republicans who vote no on this?
Every Republican should be voting for this bill. And if they don't, they're going to have to live with that. And I tell you what, our party's symbol is an elephant, isn't it? And an elephant's got a long memory.
Congressman, do you think President-elect Trump should have made his demand earlier than 1 or 2 days before the deadline?
President Trump didn't make a demand. Let's be very clear. President Trump is the leader of the Republican Party. President Trump is going to be leading this nation for the next 4 years. So what you're seeing and why it seemed cattywampus is because we're building the muscle memory between the executive branch and the legislative branch. This is the first time we've worked collectively together after President Trump was elected. So I expected this to be a sort of disjointed process because now we are understanding how to communicate with each other. So this is a good thing.
Sorry, but you called for the debt limit increase earlier.
Well, that's up to him. Yeah, I can't speak for the president.
And what does this mean for the next 2 years of governing? Is it going to be as challenging, as chaotic?
It's going to be awesome. You know why it's going to be awesome? Because now we know how to work together. All right, I guess Richard Hudson, you going to come up here and say, I'm going to get back in there and do Congress stuff? Huh? All right. Anybody else? All right, Godspeed. Oh, wait, sorry. Last thing. Merry Christmas.